Right, so where were we? We've done the feet, we've done the legs, we've done the trunk, we've done the chest and shoulders, and all we've got left to do now is the arms. So we have the two arms, obviously. Maybe we'll do this video and cover both the top arm and the bottom arm, whichever one's which, or maybe we'll go and do the top arm and then the bottom arm, depends how long it takes. So firstly, sorry about the beard and the hair thing, but I promised someone I wouldn't cut my beard off until I finished the videos, and with a little bit of a delay it's got a little bit out of hand, but I'm really looking forward to finishing today and getting shaved up. So first of all, with the arms, top arm, all the time we're talking today about the top arm. If this is my top arm, we're assuming that this arm comes all the way from the hand to the elbow to the shoulder and finishes at the other shoulder. So the top arm extends from this shoulder to this hand. Bottom arm, when we get to it, will extend from this shoulder to this hand. So the bottom arm is always a bit shorter than the top arm. So what does it do, the top arm? Well, the top arm has an extraordinary capacity. However well we do the rest of what we've been talking about, the top arm has an extraordinary capacity to totally muck that up. Mess up the top arm and the whole lot's gone. Okay, so the top arm basically just has to resist the forces that are applied to it, and we'll talk about those when we go onto the machine later. It doesn't do much. It creates a fixed point, but that fixed point is relative to you, not to the space around you, so it doesn't have to stay in one place as you move. It moves with you, but it moves fixed relative to your, let's call it a central point here. The top arm has to prevent power spill, so you've got all this power coming in and it all ends, and this arm can move up, it can move out, it can go anywhere it likes in space, and the moment it comes out of its strong zone, then we're spilling power. Top arm has a massive influence on the path of the bottom paddle, and that's its main job, is to hold this bottom paddle down into the water and to keep that paddle buried. Remember that the water wants to push it up all the time. The positioning of the top hand dictates the angle of the paddle, so if we look from the side, the angle from this hand to this hand is the angle of the paddle, and the top arm has a massive influence on that. The main problem you'll see with top arms, pretty much the only problem you'll see with top arms, is the whole notion that it pushes, that it punches, that it has some sort of impact by extending that arm, that it has some sort of positive impact on what's actually happening, in the water. Just had a banana and peanut butter, it comes up a bit. Anyway, the paddle in the water is the thing that matters. The idea that you can influence that positively by pushing this arm forward is really something we need to address. So we'll go on to the ergs and a few exercises at the end, although we've already covered a lot of the exercises for the top arm. And things to look out for when you're watching your athletes in the boat, the signs that the top arm is going wrong is that the paddle gets to a negative angle too soon, which means the top hand is overtaking the bottom hand. We'll go through that on the erg later. The top hand rises and then falls through the stroke. The stroke rate is way too high for the boat speed. The catch is weak and noisy, you often get a plopping sound, instability in the boat itself, and early full extension of the top arm is a sign that you're doing all that. Okay, the position we're looking for with that top arm is that the elbow doesn't go higher than the shoulder, it's either level or below. Personally, I'm a bit of a fan of below, but that's going to come down to individual thinking. Hand slightly above, so my hand is above my shoulder, my elbow is below my shoulder, and those three will always be in that orientation throughout the whole pool. So that's what we're looking for. So we're looking at controlling spillage and increase in power as we move on to the erg. The crucial part with the top arm is that relative to my body, it doesn't move. It doesn't escape from my chest, it doesn't escape out to the side. It starts in this position. I'll be slightly rotated at the back, so it starts in this position. This position from the side looks very much a little bit uncomfortable, is this position, elbow slightly in front of my chest maybe, hand higher than shoulder, elbow lower than the shoulder. That's my preferred position. There are a whole area here where your arm can be strong. It's kind of a position you might do a press up or a bench press. It's that sort of strong position. Can't believe we got someone leaf blowing their garden next door. So leaf blowing stopped, we're good to go. So where were we? We got the top arm in this position, it's going to stay in this position, and it's going to come with my chest. I don't want it escaping from my chest, I don't want it escaping above my chest, out from my chest. It's in this position, and these joints across here, I've got this joint and this joint, never change their orientation through the whole move. Okay? We can break this shape at this joint, in which case the hand will go up, or we can break this shape at that joint, in which case the arm will either go back if we're not putting enough strength through it, or it will come forward and fold across the front of the chest. They're the things we're watching out for. We're looking for the hand escaping or the arm coming across the chest. Normally the two happen sequential to each other, so at the back of the stroke the hand will go up to escape the load, and at the end it will fold across to escape the load. So you get paddlers very much coming up and over. We want to fix here and turn on it. So we'll look at that with a bit of load on the machine, bit of clanking about, but hey. So there's the arm in its top position. We're at the back of the pull, hand in front of the chest, above the shoulder roughly. You'll find your own strong position, and any time you can, well, we'll do it in the exercise at the end, but a press up shape. Here we go, we start in that orientation, and as the chest comes round, so too does the arm, and we're in exactly the same orientation there as we are back here. You'll see that top arm never actually moves. It doesn't straighten, it doesn't push, it doesn't punch. It creates a fixed point relative to my body, and that's its job. Remember, the shoulder's pushing down, the hand is resisting the pressure that goes up the shaft. So that's your top arm. So looking at the same thing from the side, we can now see the angles I'm talking about. This is a positive angle, where the top hand is further back than the bottom hand, and the paddle in this position can generate lift. We can push down on this, take our body weight out of the boat, and we all weigh a lot less, and we can go shooting forwards. As soon as now this top hand overtakes the bottom hand, and we're in a negative angle, it's quite hard to stay there, but with this hand above, in front of this hand, now all we've got is a little bit of punting we can do. It's ineffective at best. Once this top hand is beyond vertical, boom, to a negative angle, we really need to be getting things out of the water. So looking at it from the side then, got this top arm. Let's swap sides so you can see my top arm better. Top arm is in that shape, it stays in that shape throughout the pull. If I am tempted to push it, I can push up, 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 up. The hand will always go upwards if you push forward, because the hand will want to escape from the chest. And you can see that actually I've gone absolutely nowhere. If it's in this place and it locks and I apply force, I'll start to move. Very straightforward. So when you see mistakes, you will always see people push up first, and then they'll finish low at the end of the stroke. Not that low, but low enough. Finishing low at the end of a stroke, it's pretty bad news, because that is very unstable. This hand tucks in at the back, tucks in under you, that hand's low, and we're basically setting up for the first half of a roll, which isn't ideal. So the hand will be this height at the start, it will be that same height at the finish, and we're good to go. So that's the top hand. We'll move on to the real erg now and show you what it looks like, hopefully, when it's right and when it's wrong on a real erg. On the actual erg then, when I paddle, I'll show you the best I can do of showing you it right, and then an illustration of what happens when the hand escapes. But the things to watch out for as a coach is that when your paddler has finished their pull, this arm is still bent, broken. It's still in that same shape it was here. It's bent or broken here. it only extends to full extension in the air time. So I'll just get my assistant to grab a paddle for me and we'll show you that. So come on, assistant, chop chop, come on man. All morning we've been rehearsing for this. Come on. Sorry. So paddle coming in. So I'll just ditch that. So with a real paddle, when I finish the pull, I've come through, I've got to the end of my power bit on the bottom arm, we'll talk about that later, but this arm is still, let's call it soft or broken, and only as we come into the air time will that one go out to the front. It all happens very quickly in real time, but fact is, boom, we're finished, open out and go down into the water from there. So you can also see with, if we in our setup position here, the moment I push this top hand forward and up, you can see what happens to that bottom paddle. Instead of putting it in there by our feet, it will come in here by our knees. You will always get a big splop as that goes in and your big air pocket behind the paddle. Paddle's no use unless it's got water on all faces, okay? So a big splop when it goes in happens because this top arm escapes too fast and pushes upwards, not holding down into the water. Much better. Okay, so in real time, you finish the pull here and extend. Finish and extend. If you start to punch the top arm, it can't go straight forward, it will always go up first or out first. Up's more common, and that's breaking the top arm at the elbow joint, and then we'll go for the shoulder fold across the front on the slider afterwards. So we'll just do the up part. So a bad paddler will push up, and what that leads to is a lot less time at a positive angle, a lot less lift, a lot less pull and a lot less speed. Increased stroke rate, lower speed, lots of plopping, and well, kind of out the back generally. So if we want to go to the front of the race, we'll have to get that positive angle. We'll move on to the slider or back to the slider, and I'll show you what happens when you break at the shoulder joint now. That was an illustration of what happens when you break at the elbow. Now we're going for the shoulder joint. Right, so we've already shown you on the what happens when you break this top arm. Remember the top arm, hand, elbow, shoulder to shoulder. If we break the top arm at this joint, the hand goes up. Now we've got this joint to deal with. If we break that top arm at this point, that arm will come across. Now, when we're talking across, there's quite a lot of discussion always about how far the top hand should come across the midline of the boat. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion, okay? If you've got your fixed point here, the distance that top hand will come across the front of the boat depends on how much rotation you have. If you have this much rotation, it will come to here. If you have this much rotation, it will come to here. It doesn't have an opinion of its own. This is a servant of this, okay? This hand follows this chest everywhere this chest goes. So if you've got a lot of rotation in you, maybe you're not middle-aged, slightly overweight, and a bloke, and you can rotate more than this, good for you. You can get all the way to here, and then the arm will extend out at the end of the pull. What we don't want to see is you get all the way to here, to the end of your rotation, and then that arm breaks at this joint and folds across the body, because then you lose all control of the bottom paddle, which will tuck under. That will happen, boom, it will come underneath you, and you're in a very weak point for getting the paddle out and back to the setup position. So we'll show you that under a bit of load. On a good pull, we'll set the arm in its position, come up the slide, and it will stop there. It's quite hard to stop this up the slide, but there where it's just across the midline, and it's across the midline because that's where my chest has gone. What I don't want to do is get to there and then fold across. There and stop, not there and fold. When you fold, the path of the paddle, again, we talked about it before, becomes a C shape, and you finish with the paddle tucked under at the back. When you don't fold, the paddle will come down the boat and you can take out to the side in a J shape. Okay, that's covered the top arm. We'll just give you a couple of exercises, pretty much a repetition of exercise we gave you for chest and shoulders, and so a quick recap on those, and then we'll move on to the bottom arm. Back to the trusty old door frame. I've got some bungees here, double thick because that's how I roll, and they're attached to the top of the door. They actually shut in the top of the door. So this angle needs to be quite steep ideally, and this is a great position with enough bungees on here. It's a really good way to find out where your strong point is. So if I'm in my strong point here, elbow below shoulder, hand above shoulder, elbow in front of chest, hand in front of elbow, then I can put some tension through that bungee and I'm pretty secure. If I move my hand out to the side, it gets pulled back fairly sharpish. If I move that hand up, it gets pulled back fairly sharpish, and I move it in towards my chest too far, it gets pulled back fairly sharpish. So there'll be an area here somewhere, and there's a little sort of area where you're strong, and within that area you can feel it very quickly as soon as you put load on the bungee. Within that area you can choose whatever feels best for you. There is no right, there's no wrong, but it does need to be strong. So once we're in that position, you've got your strong point, we can just rotate the chest and keep the strong point. It is crucial that these joints do not escape from the chest, they follow the chest. Follow the chest all the time. This arm does not have an opinion of its own, like my assistant. So we'll talk about it later. So strong position, find your strong position, hold that position and rotate on it. You can do your legs if you want. Sorry, I'd have that leg forward, my mistake. So from here we can do the whole rotation through the leg, from down to up, from down to up, or we can just have solid legs and rotate. Getting a bit tired now. The other exercise we did was the press up on the floor, where we had the half bent arms and the hip touching, which tests this structure quite severely. I found out since I've been getting the messages back from you. I didn't realise it was that hard. Perhaps I'm gifted, who knows, probably not though. So we're just down on the floor, press up position, slightly bent arms, and from there, one hand off the floor, touch the hip. You remember it from the chest and shoulders before. So that's pretty much it for the top arm. Crucial things for the top arm. Please, please, please don't ever talk about pushing or punching with the top arm. It just doesn't work. Honestly, it doesn't work. Top arm, you have to find your strong position wherever that is for you. Load it with either a press up, with the bungee. You can push against someone else. You can stand face to face and resist on each other's hands. That's a great way of doing it. Find where you're strong and then learn that position. That top arm only comes all the way around with the body. Only in the air time does it come out and stretch out. Air time is locking out time. If the arm locks out before you get to air time, then the angle between the top hand and the bottom hand is way too shallow. You haven't got any pull. In fact, at this stage you're slowing yourself down. That's exactly like a support stroke or a drag-in stroke, slowing down for portage. So that's the top arm. It's not the biggest part or power producer in the chain, but it is the final point where you can spill that power and waste everything you've done so far. So it looks like we're going to have two videos done that for a bottom arm, top arm, because that was longer than I thought. So we'll be back with you with the bottom arm shortly. See you in a bit. Bye.